Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganata Shamsharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Gana Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Praptasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Vande Gurashi Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Vande Gurashi Mahaprabhu ki Tananrita Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Romanchakam pasru taranga vajo Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shringaratanama Niramarjanado Shri Vigrahara Juktasya Bhaktamsa Niyunjatopi Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Chaturvidhashi Bhagavat Prasada Satana Truptan Hari Bhakta Shanga Chaturvidhashi Bhagavat Prasada Satana Truptan Kridvaiva Truptin Vajata Shadeva Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Shiradikama Gabayara Para Madhurya Lila Gunarupanamna Shirarikama Madhurya Lila Gunarupanamna Pratikshana Danalalopasya Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Ne Kunjayuno Ratikeli Siddhai Chajali Virijokti Apekshaniya Nikunjayona Ratikeli Siddhai Chajali Virijokti Apekshaniya Tatrati daksha ati balavasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam. Sakshadhari Dena Shamasta Shashrit Pruktastatava Vyataiva Sadhavi Sakshadhari Dena Shashrit Kintu Pravarja Priyaiva Tasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam. Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Dayam Stuvam Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vindam. Dayam Stuvam Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatari Shatarine. Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatari Shatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Chaitanya Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita गदाधर शिवासारी गौर भक्तवृन्द श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासारी गौर भक्तवृन्द Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Namah, Krishna Jadavaya Namah, Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah, Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhattara Guna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasara Guna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram. Shishi Radha, Nila Madhava Radha, Nila Madhava Radhe. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sudarshan Chakra. Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo, Haribo. Jai Vishnu Paramansa Prabhajikacharya Sutra Sri Shishimad. His Divine Grace of Bhojaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Pratishta Bhiviti Samstapakachar Vaishnav Sramuni Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Patita Udhara Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Satguru Swami Prabhu Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai. अनंत कोच वैष्णवृंद की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसरि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय जय परम दयाल श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय जय प्रेम नाम संकीर्तन का जनक प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिदानंद श्रीमन गौरंग चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि महावरनाय अवतार की जय गोलोकेर प्रमधान हरिनाम संकीर्तन जय की जय जुग धर्म हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय Brihabdanga Transcendental Book Distribution Seva Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopagopna Radha Kund Samakund Giriraj Godhan Ki Jai. Shri Brajabhim Vrindavan Mathurudam Ki Jai. The Lordship Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai. Shri Maya Purnamadvip Ekachakradam Ki Jai. Paramakaruna Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. Shri Purushottam Ketra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Swami Baladev Prabhu. Shrimati Subhadra Devi Sudarshan Chakra Bhagavan Ki Jai. जगंगा में जमुना माई की जय तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय श्री मधुरधा रानी की जय समवेत भक्तवृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रमानंदे हरि all glories to the assembly bodies all glories to the assembly bodies all glories to the assembly bodies all glories glory to Shri Guru Shri Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya
Namaste Narasingaya
Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlada
Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namaha Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrindadevi ki Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Priyasi Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namo Radha Krishna Seva Prabhu Eyabe Lase Radha Krishna Seva Prabhu Eyabe Lase Chetamara Sharanala Taravancha Purna Kripa Kare Kara Tare Vrindavana Vasi Sada Jugala Ruparasi Eni Vedana Dara Shakiranu Gata Kono Sevaya de Koroni Dadasi Dina Krishna Dasi Boy Eina Morao Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sagaya Navasi Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sagaya Navasi Jani Kani Sapapani Brahma Jani Kani Sa Tani Tani Panna Santi Padachina Pade Pade Jani Kanisha Papa Ni Brahma Tani Kanisha Tani Tani Prana Santi Parachila Pare Pare Tani Kani Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Nitai Gaura Vivo Haribo Nitai Gaura Vivo Jai Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Krishna Bhakti Prare Devi Satavataye Namo Namaha Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Krishna Bhakti Prare Devi Satavataye Namo Namaha Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namaha Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. O Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you as wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also give me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of damsels of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me unmet servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna praise. May I always stream in love with Shri Radha and God. Shri Mati Tulsi Maharani Vrindi Devi Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhyastakam Ki Jai. Tito Darpanamajana Bhavamada Bhavamana Jayaka Vidyavardujivanam Ananda Vidivardhanam Pratipadam Punam Kashvadanam Sarvamasnam Parapalayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Nam Kavari Bhakta Nirasara Avatar bhakti rahaitu ki tvai Oi nanda tanuja kinkaram Patitamam vishameva vambudo Kripaya tapapar pankaja Stitaduli sadrisham vichintayo Nayanam galorashodharaya Padanam gadugadarudaya gira Purakair chitam bapukada Tavanama grahane bhavisati Jugaitam nimishena Chakyusha pravishaitam Shunyaitam jagat sarvam Govinda virahirame Aslishva padartam pinastumam Adarshnar marmahatam karotuva Jatatatava vidadatu lampato Matpranatastu saivana para Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Shastakam Ki Jai Namo Mahavarannaya Krishna Prema Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays that the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can rain that all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested your transcendental energies. There is not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer our respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause of devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yes, somehow or other I'm following this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh my Lord, when will my eyes will be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And will the hairs of my body stand on end with the recitation of your name? Oh Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so. Even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me, he is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri 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 Kastakam Ki Jai. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. To blaspheme his devotees who dedicated life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literatures and pursuance of Vedic version. 5. Consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which often Vedas as fruitive activity, karma kanda. 9. To instruct the fearless person by the glories of holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and the mundane material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter, it is also an offense to be intangible chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prem. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, devoted with the Lord. They are just like desired trees, they can fulfill their desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu
Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. Om Aganyatibandasya Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Sapitam Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swagadantika Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Chitaha Pachakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Ragunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Saidvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaguna Lalita Shri Vishaka Nivitam Sha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Guruvani Pucharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namini Shivarsavanavi Devi Dayitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhur Ujvala Primadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktita Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namo Gora Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhi. What? Oh, I'm sorry. Namaste Guruvani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Apasiddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gora Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Gora Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Goravir Baba Bhumestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhuma Shri Jagannatayate Namaha Vanchakalpa Turabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patittanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prem Prayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gurachase Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhakta Saktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Suratur Bangur Mama Manda Matir Gati Matsarva Swapadambujo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Dvindaranya Kalpadradaha Shrimad Ratnagara Simhasanastito Shrimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastali Bihi Sevyamanam Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasaram Vivam Sivata Tatastita Karsan Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinatak Striyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavanestute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchatattva Mahamantra Ki Jai Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktavinda. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always accompanied by his plenary expansion, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, his incarnation, Sri Advaita Prabhu, his internal potency, or his internal potency, Shri Gadadhar Prabhu, and his marginal potency, Shri Vas Prabhu. He is in the midst of them as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always accompanied by these other tattvas. Therefore, our obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are complete when we say, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinoda. As preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement, we first offer our obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting this Panchatattva mantra. Then we say, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There are 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, but these are not considered in the chanting of the Panchatattva mantra, namely, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Mahavadanya-avatara, the most magnanimous incarnation, for he does not consider the offenses of the fallen souls. Thus, to derive the full benefit of the chanting of the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we must first take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, learn the Panchatattva mantra, and then chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That will be very effective. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The transcendental vibration established by the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the sublime method of reviving our Krishna consciousness. As living spiritual souls, we are all originally Krishna conscious entities. But due to our association with matter from time immemorial, our consciousness is now polluted by the material atmosphere. The material atmosphere in which we are now living is called Maya, or illusion. Maya means that which is not. And what is this illusion? The illusion is that we are all trying to be lords of material nature, while actually we are under the grip of her stringent laws. When a servant artificially tries to imitate the all-powerful master, this is called illusion. In this polluted concept of life, we are all trying to exploit the resources of material nature, but actually we are becoming more and more entangled in her complexities. Therefore, although we are engaged in a hard struggle to conquer nature, we are ever more dependent on her. This illusory struggle against material nature can be stopped at once by revival of our Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. This consciousness is the original energy of the living entity. When we hear the transcendental vibration, this consciousness is revived, and this process is recommended for this age by authorities. By practical experience also, one can perceive that by chanting this Mahamantra, or the great chanting for deliverance, one can at once feel a transcendental ecstasy coming through from the spiritual stratum. And when one is factually on the plane of spiritual understanding, surpassing the stages of senses, mind, and intelligence, one is situated on the transcendental plane. This chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is directly enacted from the spiritual platform, and thus this sound vibration surpasses all lower strata of consciousness, namely sensual, mental, and intellectual. There is no need, therefore, to understand the language of the mantra, nor is there any need for mental speculation or any intellectual adjustment for chanting this Mahamantra. It springs automatically from the spiritual platform, and as such, anyone can take part in the chanting without any previous qualification and dance in ecstasy. We have seen this practically. Even a child can take part in the chanting, or even a dog can take part in it. Of course, for one who is too entangled in material life, it takes a little more time to come to the standard point. But even such a materially engrossed man is raised to the spiritual platform very quickly. When the mantra is chanted by a pure devotee of the Lord in love, it has the greatest efficacy on the hearers, and as such, this chanting should be heard from the lips of a pure devotee of the Lord so that immediate effects can be achieved. As far as possible, chanting from the lips of non-devotees should be avoided. Milk touched by the lips of a serpent has poisonous effects. The word Hara is the form of addressing the energy of the Lord, and the words Krishna and Rama are forms of addressing the Lord himself. Both Krishna and Rama mean the supreme pleasure, and Hara is the supreme pleasure energy of the Lord changed to Hare in the vocative. The supreme pleasure energy of the Lord helps us to reach the Lord. The material energy called Maya is also one of the multi-energies of the Lord, and we, the living entities, are also the energy, marginal energy of the Lord. The living entities are described as superior to material energy. When the superior energy is in contact with the inferior energy, an incompatible situation arises. But when the superior marginal energy is in contact with the superior energy, called Hara, the living entity is established in its happy, normal condition. These three words, namely Hari, Krishna, and Rama, are the transcendental seeds of the Mahamantra. The chanting is a spiritual call for the Lord and his internal energy, Hara, to give protection to the conditioned soul. This chanting is exactly like the genuine cry of a child for its mother. Mother Hara helps the devotee achieve the grace of the Supreme Father Hari, or Krishna, and the Lord reveals himself to the devotee who chants this mantra sincerely. No other means of spiritual realization, therefore, is as effective in this age as chanting the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hare Bol. So today we're going to read from Canto 2 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, text number 18. Tadarsanalad pariplut anantaro Hrishyat tanu prema parasrulochana Nanama padam bhujam asya vishwasrik Yat paramahamsena patadigamyate. Tat, by that audience of the Lord, darshana, audience, alada, joy, paripluta, overwhelmed, antara, within the heart, hrishyat, full in ecstasy, tanu, body, prema bara, in full transcendental love, ashru, tears, lochana, in the eyes, nanama, bowed down, pada, ambujam, under the lotus feet, asya, of the Lord, vishwasrik, the creator of the universe, yat, which, paramahamsyena, by the great liberated soul, pata, the path, adigamyate, is followed. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma, thus seeing the personality of Godhead in his fullness, was overwhelmed with joy within his heart, and thus, in full transcendental love and ecstasy, his eyes filled with tears of love. He thus bowed down before the Lord. That is the way of the highest perfection for the living being, or the Paramahamsa. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that this great literature is meant for the Paramahamsas. paramo nirmatsaranam satam. That is, the Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for persons completely free from malice. In the conditioned life, the malicious life begins from the top, namely bearing malice against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So malice means something that is evil and very, let's say, aggressive. In the conditioned life, the malicious life begins from the top, namely bearing malice or ill will against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Personality of Godhead is an established fact in all the revealed scriptures, and in the Bhagavad Gita, the personal feature of the Supreme Lord is especially mentioned, so much so that the last portion of the great literature is emphatically stressed that one should surrender unto the Personality of Godhead to be saved from the miseries of life. Sarvadharmam Prityaja Mami Kam Saranam Vraja. Unfortunately, persons with impious backgrounds do not believe in the Personality of Godhead, and everyone wants to become God himself without any qualification. This malicious nature in the conditioned soul continues even up to the stage when a person wants to be one with the Lord, and thus even the greatest of the empiric philosophers, speculating on becoming one with the Supreme Lord, cannot become a Paramahansa, because the malicious mind is there. So it's a mind that's wishing evil. Malicious means you wish evil, something evil to happen to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Paramahansa stage of life can be attained only by those who are fixed in the practice of Bhakti Yoga. This Bhakti Yoga begins if a person has the firm conviction that simply discharging devotional service to the Lord in full transcendental love can elevate him to the highest perfectional stage of life. Now, many people don't believe this, and this is actually a statement of faith. To be elevated, but just by engaging, one believes that just by engaging in devotional service, one can attain the highest perfection of life. This is also a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, where it says, Shadaval labhate jnanam tat parasam yatendriya jnanam ladva param santim achiren adigachyate. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. In the purport, Prabhupada writes, such knowledge in Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who believes firmly in Krishna. One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness, he can attain the highest perfection. There it is right there. So you see, it says, this Bhakti Yoga begins if a person has the firm conviction that simply discharging devotional service to the Lord in full transcendental love can elevate him to the highest perfectional stage of life. So you see the correspondence between 4th chapter, verse number 39, and 2nd canto, 9:18. Brahmaji believed in this art of Bhakti Yoga. He believed in the instructions of the Lord to execute tapa, and he discharged the function with great penance, and thus achieved the great success of seeing the Vaikuntha Lokas and the Lord also by personal experience. So this is the process. If you want to see Krishna, this is the process. Right? No one can reach the abode of the Supreme Lord by any mechanical means of the mind or machine, but one can reach the abode of the Vaikuntha Lokas simply by following the process of Bhakti Yoga, because the Lord can be realized only through Bhakti Yoga process. Lord Brahmaji was actually sitting on his lotus seat, and from there, by executing the process of Bhakti Yoga in great seriousness, he could see the Vaikuntha Lokas with all variegatedness, as well as the Lord in person, and his associates. Following in the footsteps of Lord Brahma, any person, even up to this day, can attain the same perfection by following the path of the Paramahansa as recommended herein. Lord Chaitanya also approved of this method of self-realization for men in this age. One should first, with all conviction, believe in the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. See, now Prabhupada's repeating it one more time. And without making efforts to realize him by speculative knowledge, in other words, you have to believe Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, give up all speculation. That's what the empiric philosophers do. They speculate all the time, the Mayavadis and others. One should prefer to hear about him from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita and later from the text of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay? So first, we have to have faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How do you get that faith? You associate with devotees who have that faith. So eventually, through that association, you will also develop faith. And then you give up all speculation, all types of speculation. And then you hear about Krishna only from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, and Srimad Bhagavatam also as it is. One should hear such discourses from a person Bhagavatam. Then the next point is you should hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam from a person Bhagavatam, and not from the professional man or from the karmi, jnani, or yogi. That is the secret of learning the science. One does not need to be in the renounced order of life. He can remain in his present condition of life, but he must search out the association of a bona fide devotee of the Lord and hear from him the transcendental message of the Lord with faith and conviction. So faith means you believe it, and conviction means you firmly accept it as the truth that's going to be the guiding light of your life. Right? Firmly accept it. That is the path of the Paramahansa recommended herein. So we have to follow the example of the Paramahansa. And here the Paramahansa is Brahmaji, the first created being. He's the son of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And he's born without the help of Lakshmi. Garbhodakshay Vishnu expanded him simply by his thought. Yet he can be conquered. Amongst various holy names of the Lord, he is also called Ajita, or one who can never be conquered by anyone else. Yet he can be conquered by the Paramahamsa path, as practically realized and shown by the great spiritual master, Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma has personally recommended this Paramahamsa Pantha in his own words as follows. So Pantha means path. What he did, and this is explained in detail in this chapter, how he became a Paramahansa, how he performed tapasya and penance, and how he was able to see Krishna, and how he was shown Vaikuntha by Krishna. So all these things were possible because he followed the instructions given by Krishna. And the first instruction was tapa, engage in voluntary penance. Lord Brahma has personally recommended this Paramahansa Pantha in his own words as follows. Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadya vartam stanis tatak shrutikatan tanaman manobir ye prayaso jita jito pi asitais trilokyam. Lord Brahma said, O my Lord Krishna, a devotee who abandons the path of empiric philosophical speculation aimed at merging in the existence of the Supreme and engages himself in hearing your glories and activities from a bona fide sadhu or saint, and who lives an honest life in the occupational engagement of his social life, can conquer your sympathy and mercy, even though you are ajita or unconquerable. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-3. That is the path of Paramahamsas. which was personally followed by Lord Brahma and later recommended by him for attaining perfect success in life. So here we have the path for attaining perfect success. Now, who wants to be a failure? Well, most people don't want to be a failure. But almost everyone is failing. That means at the moment of death, they don't remember Krishna. They remember their 401k, they remember their girlfriends, they remember this and they remember that, and they're forced to take birth again and start all over. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So this is a very sad state. And most people, up to close to 99% of the people in this world, are in that condition. They're simply going to die, not remember Krishna, and come back again, and no guarantee in what body they will have, because there's 8,400,000 bodies, depending on their accumulated karma, which is usually mixed good and bad deeds, and their last thoughts at the moment of death. Okay, so today we're going to hear very, very advanced discussion between Lord Chaitanya and Sri Ramananda Rai. It might take a couple days to get through it all. Lord Chaitanya never preached about Radha and Krishna in public. In public, he very energetically performed Sankirtan Yagya, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day, especially when he was in Jagannath Puri. He would go out on Sankirtan, and it would last for many, many hours. And many people, thousands of people, would join him, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. However, with genuine devotees, he would discuss the transcendental affairs of Radha and Krishna. So, although this is a confidential thing, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who wrote this Chaitanya Charitamrita, revealed in great detail many of the private discussions that Lord Chaitanya had. He had these private discussions with Sanatana Goswami, with Rupa Goswami. And certain people took notes, and they shared their notes with Krishnadas Kaviraj, who therefore used that to record these confidential discussions that Lord Chaitanya had. So one of the most profound confidential discussions is with Ramananda Rai, and we're going to begin to hear it today. Who was Ramananda Rai? He was the governor of South India, of most of South India, 500 years ago. He had a very powerful position. He was right next to the king. The king was King Prataparudra, and he was his main man for managing most of the kingdom. And but who was he in reality? He was the gopi, Vishaka. Vishaka is one of the intimate servants of Srimati Radharani. And who is Lord Krishna? He's the combined incarnation of Radha and Krishna. So when Lord Chaitanya met Ramananda Rai, they became immediately overwhelmed by ecstasy, because Vishaka was an intimate gopi of Krishna. And because Mahaprabhu has combined Radha and Krishna, so therefore there was a very, very intimate relationship both ways with Ramananda Rai. So it says here, since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Lord Krishna himself, there was naturally an awakening of love between Vishaka and Krishna. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the combination of Srimati Radharani and Krishna, and the gopi, Vishaka, is a principal gopi assisting Srimati Radharani. Thus, the natural love between Ramananda Rai and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu awakened, and they embraced. When they embraced each other, ecstatic symptoms, paralysis, perspiration, tears, shivering, paleness, and standing up of the bodily hairs appeared. The word Krishna came from their mouths falteringly. When the stereotyped ritualistic Brahmins who were following the Vedic principles and were accompanying Ramananda Rai saw this ecstatic manifestation of love, they were struck with wonder. All these Brahmanas began to reflect as follows. The Brahmanas thought, we can see that this sannyasi has a luster like the effulgence of Brahman, but how is it he is crying upon embracing a Sudra, a member of the fourth caste in the social order? So these formal Brahmanas, who are not actually devotees, they are Brahmanas, but they're not devotees. When they see Lord Chaitanya, who's a first-class sannyasi, embracing Ramananda Rai, who is a Sudra by birth, they were perplexed. They said, what's going on here? The sannyasi is not supposed to even touch or see Sudras. They thought, the Brahmanas thought, this Ramananda Rai is the governor of Madras, a highly learned and grave person, a Mahapandita. But upon touching this sannyasi, he has become restless like a madman. While the Brahmanas were thinking in this way about the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw these outsiders and restrained his transcendental emotions. So in the purport, Prabhupada says, Ramananda Rai was intimately related to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, he can be accepted as a sajatiya, a person within the intimate circle of the Lord. The Brahmanas, however, were followers of the Vedic rituals and were not able to have an intimate connection with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Consequently, they are called vijatiya loka. In other words, they were not pure devotees. One may be a highly learned Brahmana, but if he is not a pure devotee, he is a vijatiya, an outcast, one outside the devotional service. In other words, a non-devotee. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Raya were embracing in ecstasy, the Lord restrained his transcendental emotions upon seeing the outsider Brahmanas. Very interesting. This is Madhya Lila, chapter 8, beginning from verse 23. When they regained their sanity, both Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Rai sat down, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled and began to speak as follows. Okay, so now we're going to skip forward a couple pages. So, their discussion on the substantive point begins on verse 57, where Lord Chaitanya says, Prabhu kahe, pada sloka sadyera nirnaya, raya kahe, swa dharma charane Vishnu bhakti haya. So you can see how Bengali has many Sanskrit words in it, as does Telugu and as does many languages. But Bengali especially has many Sanskrit words in it. So he says, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Ramananda Rai recite a verse from the revealed scriptures concerning the ultimate goal of life. Ramananda Raya replied, if one executes the prescribed duties of his social position, he awakens his original Krishna consciousness. So this is basically a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. And it says, in this connection, Sri Ramanujacharya states in the Vidarta sangraha, that devotional service is naturally very dear to the living entity. Indeed, it is life's goal. This devotional service is supreme knowledge or Krishna consciousness, and it brings detachment from all material activity. So, you see, Prabhupada, he goes directly to Sri Ramanujacharya, who's in the Sri Vaishnava tradition, but he has written a book called Vidartha Sangraha. And in that book, see what Prabhupada is doing, he's quoting from Sridhar Swami, who's in the Rudra Vaishnava Sampradaya, and he's quoting now from Sri Ramanujacharya, who's in the Sri Sampradaya, because all the four Vaishnava Sampradayas, the Brahma Sampradaya, the Sri Sampradaya, the Rudra Sampradaya, and the Kumara Sampradaya, they all have the same tattva, the truth, or philosophy. What is that tattva? That is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin of everything, including Narayana, the spiritual world, and everything. Okay. So he immediately goes to Sri Ramanujacharya, who says that devotional service is naturally very dear to the living entity. Indeed, it is life's goal. This devotional service is supreme knowledge or Krishna consciousness, and it brings detachment from all material activity. In the transcendental position, a living being can perfectly acknowledge the superiority of serving the Supreme Lord. The devotees attain the Supreme Lord only by devotional service. Having such knowledge, one engages in his occupational duty, and that is called Bhakti Yoga. By performing Bhakti Yoga, one can rise to the platform of pure devotional service. A great saint, the father of Srila Vyasadeva, Parasara Muni, has specifically mentioned that devotional service to the Lord can ultimately be awakened in human society by the discharge of duties in accordance with the Varnashrama system. He says awakened, right? So Lord Chaitanya's question, the order was to recite a verse from the revealed scriptures concerning the ultimate goal of life. Okay? So Ramananda Rai quotes this verse, which is the beginning of spiritual life, right? When you begin to engage in devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead instituted Varnashram Dharma to give human beings a chance to return home back to Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, who is known in the Bhagavad Gita as Purushottama, the greatest of all personalities, personally came and declared that the institution of Varnashram Dharma was founded by him, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 4:13, Chaturvarnyam Maya Shista Gunakarma Vibhagasaha, Tasya Kartanam Itimam Vidhi Akartanam Avyayam. Tasya Kartanam Apimam Vidhi Akartanam Avyayam. So he says, in the beginning of time, he created the 4 varnas and 4 ashramas so that people could make gradual come to devotional service gradually and become purified. So then he says, elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita 18:45 and 46, the Lord says, Sve Sve Karmanya Abhirata Samsiddhim Labbate Nata Swa Karman Nirata Siddhim Yata Vindanti Tachrinu Yatak Parvati Bhutanam Yena Sarvam Idam Tatam Swakarmana Tamabhyarcha Siddhim Vindanti Manava. Human society should be divided into 4 divisions: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra. And everyone should always engage in his occupational duty. So the definition of Varnashrama or Dharma, Varnashram Dharma, or Dharma itself, is engaging in your eternal occupational duty, which is devotional service to Lord Krishna. Okay? So Dharma is defined, or the word for Dharma in English is occupational duty. So your Dharma is your occupational duty. You can be a plumber, you can be an electrician, you can be an IT person, you can be a husband, and you have a duty to engage and follow these responsibilities. But Sanatana Dharma is devotional service to Krishna. The other Dharma, your occupational duty as a husband or wife or whatever, is temporary. But Sanatana Dharma is eternal. So Sanatana Dharma is eternally engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. That is our ultimate occupational duty. So, human society should be divided into 4 divisions: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, and everyone should always engage in his occupational duty. The Lord says that those engaged in their occupational duty can attain perfection simply by rendering loving devotional service to the Lord while executing their particular duty. So it doesn't matter whether one is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. It doesn't matter if one is Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, or Sannyas. If they engage in their Varna and their Ashrama and at the same time engage in devotional service, they can go back to Godhead. Doesn't matter where they come from. Even if one is not even a Sudra, lower than a Sudra, if they engage in devotional service under the direction of bona fide devotee, they can go back to Godhead. But for society in general, the Varnashram system is the ideal social organization to help people make spiritual advancement. Today, although those 4 Varnas exist, but they're not functioning properly. Therefore, people are not making spiritual advancement, or very few people are making spiritual advancement. But when the Varnashram Dharma is strictly adhered to, then everybody makes spiritual advancement, and it doesn't matter whether one is Brahmana or Sudra, they all can go back to Godhead by engaging in devotional service. Now, everyone, even the Sudras, even the Chandalas, they can also engage in the ashramas, becoming brahmachari, and then grihastha, and then vanaprastha, and sannyas. They can also be engaged if they're willing to follow the instructions of bona fide devotees. None of this can happen without bona fide devotees who become the instructors and teachers and gurus. Actually, the modern ideal of a classless society can be introduced only by Krishna consciousness. Let men perform their occupational duty, and let them give their profits to the service of the Lord. So this is called Daiva Varnashram now. This is the modern workable alternative to the strict Varnashram as was practiced in previous ages. The Daiva Varnashram includes everybody, the good people and the bad people. They can all become good and transcendental devotees. In other words, one can attain the perfection of life by discharging one's occupational duty and employing the results in the service of the Lord. So Daiva means God-centered Varnashram. So everyone can work according to their natural tendency. Someone may be a Brahmana, an intellectual, someone may be a Vaishya, a Kshatriya, or a leader, like a president of a country or a military commander. And one can be a Vaishya who protects cows and engages in agriculture and business, or one can be a Sudra who's a common worker, or one can be less than that. But if they agree to follow the instructions of bona fide devotees who engage them in devotional service to the Lord, and they give, according to Prabhupada's, according to the Goswamis, a Grihastha should give 50% of his income while he's still married and has children, and 50% of his income to Vaishnavas for spreading Krishna consciousness, and the other 50% he can use to have a savings account for emergency, and then 25% for that, and then 25% for the daily expenditure. Now, can everybody do that? Probably not, but at least something, some percentage has to be given to the devotees to preach Krishna consciousness. And they are also devotees. But out of the 4 Varnas, only 3 of them are celibate, or 3 of them are not involved in married life. Only 1, the Vaishyas, are involved in married life. So they have to support the other 3, the brahmacharis, the vanaprasthas, and the sannyasis. But those 3 should all be completely renounced and be minimalists, not accepting more than they need, and using all their time and energy in preaching. They cannot be fat cats. They have to be thin cats. So the fat cats, brahmanas, and sannyasis, and vanaprasthas are phonies. But the thin cats, the ones who eat minimally, sleep minimally, and do not engage in any sense gratification, and are celibate, they usually are thin, and they're not interested in bodybuilding. They're interested in soul building. There's a big difference between bodybuilding and soul building. Okay, so then it says, so this method is confirmed by great personalities like Bodhayana, Tanka, Dramida, Guhadeva, Kapardi, and Baruchi. It is also confirmed by the Vedanta Sutra. Okay, so everybody should engage in devotional service under the guidance of bona fide devotees and offer most of their, a large part of their profit to supporting these activities, and live themselves very simply. But they cannot be completely renounced, because they have responsibilities still to their children, to husband or wife, etc., family members. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is worshipped by the proper execution of prescribed duties in the system of Varna and Ashrama. There is no other way to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One must be situated in the institution of the 4 Varnas and Ashramas. So this is a verse from the Vishnu Purana, Varnashrama Charata Vata, Purushena Parakpumam, Vishnu Radyate Pantak Nanya Tattusadarsh Karanam. So you see, Ramananda Rai is a very elevated soul. Right? He's quoting, he's not looking at any book, he's quoting all these verses and explaining them, and Lord Chaitanya is listening. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, this is a quotation from the Vishnu Purana 3.8.9, as stated by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhasya. The purport is that one can realize life's perfection simply by satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is also confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:2:13. Atak pumbir dvijasestas varnashrama vibhaga saha swa anustitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. O best among the twice-born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please this personality of Godhead. Samsiddhir haritoshanam. This is the whole point of the Daiva Varnashram. Everybody from top to bottom, from Brahmana to Sudra, from sannyasi to brahmachari, and even lower to the chandalas and others, everyone can achieve perfection by samsiddhir haritoshanam, pleasing Lord Hari, or pleasing Krishna. Varnashrama charavata purushena parakpumam Vishnu radyate panta nanyat tusha. No, I'm sorry. Atak pumbir dvijasestras varnashrama vibhaga saha swanustitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. O best among the twice-born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. So that's what we practice in this temple. This is what we have in this temple. It's called Daiva Varnashram. Everybody who comes in, not everyone is a brahmana or even a brahmachari or whatever. They're just normal people, mostly engaged in sinful activities. But right away, they can engage in devotional service for Radha and Krishna and become purified rather rapidly if they engage in chanting and taking advice from the devotees. And then it says, every man should perform his occupational duty in the light of this particular tendency, as in this verse 1, 2, 13. According to his abilities, one should accept a position in the Varnashrama institution. The divisions of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra are natural divisions within society. Indeed, everyone has a prescribed duty according to the Varnashram Dharma. Those who properly execute their prescribed duties live peacefully and are not disturbed by material conditions. So you see, if we actually follow this, you live peacefully and you're not going to be disturbed by whatever happens. The spiritual orders, Brahmana, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa are called ashramas. If one executes his prescribed duty in both the social and spiritual orders, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is satisfied. So you see, both can be followed by everyone. Both can be followed by engaging in devotional service, and it doesn't matter whether you're a brahmana or a sudra or less. It doesn't matter whether you're a sannyasi or brahmachari or less. You can engage in Daiva Varnashram. It's open to everyone. If one neglects his duties, however, he becomes a transgressor and a candidate for a hellish condition. Actually, we see that different people are engaged in different ways. Therefore, there must be divisions according to work. To attain perfection, one must make devotional service the center of life. In this way, one can awaken his natural instincts by work, association, and education. So, we all have different tendencies for the way we want to work. But if we offer the result to Krishna and we follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, you become purified. And you can go back to Godhead in this lifetime and you'll live a very peaceful life, being self-satisfied in your heart and mind and happy. One should accept the Varnashram divisions by qualification, not by birth. So that's another thing. It's not based on a phony Hindu so-called caste system. That whole caste system is wrong. What is correct is what's being explained here. Anyone from any position, it doesn't matter what your birth is, can become a pure devotee of the Lord if they're willing to follow the instructions of bona fide Vaishnava teachers, gurus, Siksha and Diksha gurus, and if they will follow those rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, they can make tangible advancement and go back to Godhead in this lifetime. Unless this system is introduced, human activities cannot be systematically executed. The Brahmanas are the intellectuals who can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are always engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. It does not matter whether one is born in India or outside India. Those who are naturally very heroic and who tend to rule over others are called Kshatriyas. Those who tend to produce food by agricultural methods, protect cows and other animals, and engage in trade are called Vaishyas, or merchants. And those who are not sufficiently intelligent to be Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, or Vaishyas are required to serve a master and are called Sudras. Thus, everyone can engage in the service of the Lord and awaken his natural Krishna consciousness. If a society does not function according to such natural divisions, the social orders become degraded. The conclusion is that the scientific method of Varnashram Dharma should be adopted by society. Okay, then the next verse. The Lord replied, "This is external. You had better tell me of some other means." So, Lord Chaitanya, because he wants to know what is the ultimate goal of life. So it's not, he rejects the Varnashram system. The Varnashram system is useful to come to that goal, but in and of itself it's not enough. It has to be something else. So then Ramananda Rai replied, to offer the results of one's activities to Krishna is the essence of all perfection. Yat karosi yad asnasi yat juhosi dadasi yat tapasya sikonte yat tat kuru swamadharpanam. So here 5 things are said. 1, it says, yat karosi, everything you do. Yat juhosi, yat asnasi, everything you offer or eat. And yat juhosi, everything that you offer in sacrifice. And yet dadasi, everything that you give in charity. And yet tapasya, saying all austerities that you perform, all the results of such activities should be offered to me, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this sounds pretty good, right? So we will stop right there and continue tomorrow. This is going to take about 4 or 5 days. But it's very, very useful to hear all this. It's very enlightening. And this is, and it goes past simply attaining pure love of Krishna. It explains what that pure love of Krishna looks like and how it is actually engaged in. It goes way past anything that people know about or can imagine. Any questions? Because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who became purified by associating with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you must go to South India and meet this Ramananda Rai. It'll be very beneficial for you and for him. So because of that, Lord Chaitanya continues his journey around India. So he started from Bengal and comes south to Jagannath Puri. And now Ramananda Rai and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who became purified by associating with Lord Chaitanya and became his devotee, he says, it would be very good if you could meet Ramananda Rai. He's a genuine devotee. Although he looks like a Sudra, being a pounds and pence man, he's not a king, but he's the governor of most of South India. But it would be very good if you can meet him. So he was governor of Andhra at that time also. Andhra, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, and maybe even parts of Kerala. He was a very powerful person. Yeah. Okay, no more questions. We will continue tomorrow.
So this is the same thing we read in the introduction of...
No, this discussion was not, I don't think there's much about the discussion. Might mention it.
I think we read in the Srimad Bhagavatam introduction.
Yeah. It talks about, maybe.
It's in a summary form.
Yeah. But this is the whole thing.
So this is the whole thing.
Yes. It's very detailed. Prabhupada has also written a book about this conversation. You won't see it in ISKCON because one devotee who left ISKCON, he discovered it in one box that was left by Prabhupada in I think it was the Radha Damodar temple, and no one knew about it. But this one devotee found it and got permission and then opened it up, and he found his notes on this discussion, and he printed a book. I have that book. But it's basically the same as what's here. But Prabhupada wrote it. So you see, Prabhupada was always writing. Yeah. That book has some aspects that are not exactly, let's say, amplified aspects that are in the same discussion here in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Hari Bol. Jai. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Ki Jai. It's nice to go slowly, point by point, verse by verse, and then divert into supplementary things that are more advanced books like the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
All these verses, Maharaj, how the highlighted in different angles, like how deep it is.
Yes, yes. And see, you can understand Bhagavad Gita better. You can understand Srimad Bhagavatam better also. And there's a lot of correspondences, right? So this is a wonderful way to learn. Haribol. So today, let's see, I have to get all the goodness cookies. Tonight we're going to give out Christmas gifts, and
Yes, sir.
goodness cookies is one aspect of it.
We'll have for the food truck
Yeah.
in Redmond.
But then we need again on Saturday.
Yeah, they're making one more batch.
Yeah.
of that.
Good. Haribol.
Thank you.
Yeah, how are you, Prabhu? Haven't seen you for a long time.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Well, I just
Whenever
wanted to
you
make
call.
sure-
What?
Do you want-
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure you got the juice.
Yeah,